Hello everybody, my name is Kat Bowser. I am your resident fantasy therapist and welcome to my channel. Those of you who are returning, welcome back. Those of you who are brand new, welcome. My name is Kat Bowser. I am a licensed therapist and I'm also a writer working on my first novel. So on my channel, I like to dig into what I consider to be the heart of all writing, and that is the characters. And what makes a good character is their psychology. So you will find numerous different topics on my channel digging into world building, character development, story plot, all those kinds of things. So for today, I thought we would dig into a topic that one of my viewers, Dal Ciceruno, brought up from my last video, which was about 5 tips that you can use to improve your villain. And she brought up that I had not brought up intelligence in that video. And I'm actually really glad she brought that up because I think this is a great topic to talk about, not just for villains, but for heroes. And that is not how intelligent is your character, but how are they intelligent? Okay, so when I say how is your character intelligent, there's a reason for that wording. Let's get some misconceptions out of the way real quick. So IQ, or intelligent quota, is usually what people refer to when they're talking about how intelligent a character or a person is. IQ is not very reliable. It doesn't tell us a lot, and it is very biased. You can give the test to various different people, and there are all kinds of factors that affect how well they do. And one of them is, honestly, are they in the majority class and race of the culture? If they are, they're going to do pretty well. If they're not so much. And that is not a accurate reflection on how intelligent they are. So I don't use IQ. I think it is useful for very limited things. It gives us a very small slice of a person's ability, but overall I don't use it. What I use is Garner's theory of multiple intelligences. And basically what this theory states is that rather than there being one type of intelligence that everyone has at different levels, there are different types of intelligence. So first off, what is intelligence? Generally, we accept intelligence to mean the ability to identify and solve problems. So that can vary from person to person, as well as the routes they take to solve said problems. So this is why I use multiple intelligence theory. So I thought we'd dig into that today. It shows that there are, as of this moment at least, 9 different types of intelligences. And naturally, I could probably do a video on each of these different types of intelligence. And if you guys want me to, I will. But for this video, I'm just going to cover them very briefly, one at a time. First type of intelligence, naturalistic intelligence. This is the ability to recognize and judge plants, rocks, nature. These are the people that are very good at farming. These are the people that recognize and start to learn how to use medicinal plants, that type of thing. So these are, if you have a hunter-gatherer society, for example, or a society that is still very much based in agriculture, this intelligence is going to be very important, and people that have a lot of this intelligence are going to be very valuable. Okay, next type of intelligence, musical intelligence. These are the people that do very well with instruments, with vocalization. They understand how to write music, they understand tone, they understand timbre, all that. I probably said that wrong. I do not have high musical intelligence. So these are the people that are going to be composers, they're going to be pianists, things like that. And interestingly, musical intelligence is also tied to mathematical intelligence, which we will get to later. They're not entirely sure why, but they do think it has to do with musical intelligence triggers a similar part of the brain. So in your story, this kind of intelligence would be probably from people who are in a more cultured or, I guess, urbanized society. So if you have a society that has cities, concert halls, things like that, this kind of intelligence will come into play. Okay, intelligence number 3, logical mathematical intelligence. This is the one that usually people think about when they're thinking about intelligence. These are the people that are very good with numbers. They're good with logical reasoning. A lot of times I refer to these people as the Spock people because they base a lot of what they do primarily on facts, on evidence that they can see, that they can measure. So these are going to be your accountants. These are going to be your mathematicians. These are going to be your scientists. And naturally, if you're doing sci-fi, that's going to factor in. But these are also what I would call people that are good at strategy. So people that are maybe helping out your military, things like that. Okay, next intelligence, existential intelligence. And I'll be honest with you guys, this is one that is a little hard to describe, so I'm going to do the best I can. So this is your philosophy. These are the people that are tackling the questions like, why are we here? What is our purpose? Where did life come from? Things like that. So these would be probably like your high thinkers, your priests, religious figures, people that fall into that category. I think it would also be your wise men, people that usually have lived a long time and have learned over time and have started to explore beyond what is in front of them. So if you have a character who is what we call a very rigid thinker, they would not fall into this kind of intelligence. This is a lot of thinking on things that do not have necessarily physical evidence for. Okay, next one, interpersonal intelligence. These are the social butterflies. These are the people that understand how to talk to people. These are the people who understand relationships and how to solve conflicts. These are probably going to be your MCs to some degree, because most of the time MCs have to interact with other characters. They usually have to gather other characters together to start the plot or move the plot along. So this will be your people who are interested in really connecting with people. This is your counselors, these are your therapists, these are your teachers, things like that. And if your MC is a very isolative person, then they would not have a lot of this intelligence, but it's really fun to see them next to people that do, because that always leads to these very awkward situations. All right, next one, bodily kinesthetic intelligence. These are your athletes. These are your dancers. These are your strongmen, people that are very good with their body. They have very good muscle memory. They're very strong. They know how to use their body. These are your martial artists, things like that. This one, I really think you would see in, for example, someone who is like a military soldier. They're going to have very good muscle memory. They're going to have very good endurance, things like that. But you can also use this with children and teenagers that are still learning what they're good at. This could come up a lot with teenagers or characters that are involved in sports and things of that nature. Okay, linguistic intelligence. As the name kind of suggests, these are people that are good with words. These are your politicians. These are your speakers. These are your linguists, people that are good with learning and understanding different languages. This one's actually one of my favorites, even though I have some of it, but I'm not an expert at it. I want to learn more languages, but I have a hard time hearing and translating. If I have it written, I can do it. So there's different levels to this kind of intelligence, kind of like all the rest of these. But I think these are usually underestimated, because getting people to rally behind a cause, you could have the best cause in the world, and if you can't get people to listen to you and hear your piece, you're really not going to go anywhere. So I think these are going to be your leaders. These are going to be maybe people that your MC works with to get their point across. Okay, intrapersonal intelligence. And I draw emphasis to that because a lot of times people get intra and inter confused, and they are very different. Intra is one of those where people kind of debate whether it is the same as existential intelligence or not. But I think there is a slight difference. So these people are the folks who can understand themselves. They understand their limits, they understand their emotions, they understand why they think the way they do. They usually do have strong interpersonal intelligence as well, but not necessarily. So this is someone who is going to spend a lot of time contemplating emotions, religion, spirituality. If you have magic in your world, this would be a good intelligence for that, depending on how your magic system works. Right, last one, and I'm probably going to say this wrong because no matter how many times I say it, I always say it wrong. Spatial intelligence. These are people that think in 3 dimensions. These are your architects. These are your honestly, a form of mathematician. These are people that are doing puzzles, that they are figuring out how to design things, that type of thing. And I think these are really important, but they usually aren't directly involved with the plot unless you happen to have a character who is very I'm going to say conniving, planning, so they make up puzzles, they make up things to kind of test your hero, then this is going to come into play. If you can find other ways to bring it into play, that's awesome, because I think this is a very underestimated, underused intelligence. So those are the 9. And something important to remember is that you don't just have one of these intelligences. You usually have sections and areas in all of them to some degree. Usually when we measure intelligence using multiple intelligence theory, we're giving you percentages. So, for example, you might be like 40% interpersonal, 5% mathematical, so on and so forth. So you're going to have your strengths and you're going to have your weaknesses. Occasionally, you're going to have probably 2 or 3 that are your strongest, and then you're going to have the rest that kind of teeter down, teeter off. And I think this is important to keep in mind when you're developing characters, not just heroes, but your villains and your secondary characters as well. Because if we take into account how someone is intelligent, how they're going to think about a situation, how they're going to develop a goal, then we can come up with characters to oppose them. And that's the fun part. So if I have someone who is very strong interpersonal intelligence, they get along well with people, they can socialize, they also have strong linguistic intelligence, so they can rally people around their cause, then I need a villain that is going to have either an intelligence that is equal to theirs or an intelligence that counteracts theirs. So for example, maybe a villain that is very good at logical, mathematical type of intelligence, spatial intelligence, things like that, which is probably something my hero is not so good at. So while I don't think you necessarily have to lay out who has what intelligence, I think it should be in your mind, okay, this person is good with numbers, logic, they're really bad at emotion, they're really bad at understanding people. So then I have this person who is, let's say, their BFF. They're really good at math. They're semi-okay with emotion. They're very strong physically. So that you develop a more diverse cast, and it can also make your quest or your final battle, whatever it is you're building up to in your story, much more interesting, because if you have people that are equally matched, or if you have a villain who is much better at something than your hero is, that gives them a challenge, and they usually have to dig into other types of intelligences they don't normally use, call on people they don't normally depend on to figure out how to get around this scenario. And that's always awesome. I love to see characters that have to come up with different ways to approach a problem. And that's exactly what intelligence is finding ways around a problem. So when it comes to intelligence, don't limit it to IQ, because there are so many other opportunities, so many other choices out there, and I really think multiple intelligences explains it a whole lot better. So that is my little dig into multiple intelligences. Like I said, if you guys want me to go more in depth on each of these intelligences, no problem, I can do that. But this is just a basic overview of what there is. As always, if you guys enjoyed this content, please let me know. Either leave me a comment or you can follow me on social media. If you guys enjoyed it, please feel free to subscribe. I put up new videos every Sunday and every Thursday. And until next time, I hope you guys have a good one.